All right, and welcome everybody. This is the Adam Messer Show. I'm your host, Adam Messer, and today is Labor Day weekend. We're celebrating the labor of love with Jason Usry and Matt Lostaglia. Welcome back, guys.
Hey, hey, what's up?
All right, this is hour number 2. And Sebastian, would you mind playing some live music for us? Are you gonna play "Love of My Life" again? I was like, I've heard that a million times from you. Not that I don't like it, but I've heard it a bunch. He's giving me that look. Because I was like, if you're going to play "Love of My Life" again. My bad, Bass. I'm just saying. Oh, man. He's like, yeah, see if I play for you anymore.
Burning family bridges, man.
I'm telling you, he's sitting here giving me the death stare like,
No,
but I am, because I'm tired of hearing the same song. He's like, you did. He's like, cut the mic off. I'm just kidding, Bass. Come on. Oh, but am I kidding? He's just smiling. Anyway, so yeah, welcome back, guys. I just had to have a good laugh there. Sebastian and I are always joking around, kidding with each other. It's like, do you remember the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson? Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
You know, Ed McMahon was like, ha ha ha, yes. So we're always, Bass and I are always like, joking around, kidding with each other. I kid you not, today, I don't know, because maybe it's the holiday or what the deal is, but there were, a lot of tourists in town, and, it's good. I think it's good for the economy and all, but saw a lot of people not wearing their masks, and not observing traffic laws. Like, just walking out in front of people. I literally had this couple, when I was coming to the station, walk out in front of me in 2 different spots, because I stopped at another place. And then when I went and I got a coffee, I was like, is this like crazy or what? The same couple. They literally cut me in line and asked me if they could take a picture of the menu. And I was like, I was like, this is weird that they would, walk out in front of me twice and then cut me in line. And they don't know me. Like, I only noticed them because I was like, they cut me off. So I was like, oh my gosh. So like, if you're listening and you're in town as a tourist, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. We love having you here. Please be careful, and also please be mindful. Like, I know that, people walk out in the middle of the street, and, the pedestrians have the right of way, but, also be mindful. Think about, hey, is it safe for me to cross the street right now? Or was that car already crossing past where I'm supposed to be walking? So I just want to throw that out there. Traffic laws. Yeah.
And Savannah is one of those interesting places with the open drink.
Yeah.
And so when people come to Savannah, it's something that I actually didn't realize when I was moving to the area originally, that was the case, and that Savannah had this, while there was like this really prominent artistic culture to it, there was also this really prominent drinking culture there too.
Yeah.
I'm completely unaware of.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was very interesting when you go there on the weekends and stuff, and especially now, like you said, with the holidays. I
was surprised to see so many people out without masks on. I was like, we're still in the Georgia's still like, I mean, not to be proud of, but we're still at the top part of like, number of COVID cases and stuff. And I'm like, hey guys, this pandemic is still going on. Just because everybody's kind of getting apathetic with it and they're tired of it doesn't mean it's gone away. I feel like now it's, especially going into flu season, we need to be more, proactive about, being socially distant and, protecting ourselves and stuff like that. So, just a little PSA there. If y'all are out and about today, please wear your mask. Please wash your hands. Be safe. Don't go on vacation and then get sick and go home and be sick. Right. So, and I've had a couple of friends this week that they tested positive for COVID. That I'm not personally around them, but that I know them, and it's a real thing out there. So I had a friend of mine that passed away a couple weeks ago from COVID and having complications with other things, and so it is a real thing out there. So everybody, please be safe. But I wanted to talk about and we were talking the last hour. You brought up about your tribe, Jason, and your people, whatever. And I feel like that's important because there are, I don't know how to say this. I'm not trying to be negative here, but there are a lot of coattail, chasers. People that they think that they can leverage up because they know somebody or they name drop or whatever. And I try to filter or vet those people out. I try not to be rude or mean or anything like that, but I just try to disassociate myself from those folks. And anytime it seems like anything with entertainment, whether it's educational, Matt, or filmmaking, radio production, writing, any kind of entertainment thing, it seems like it draws the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I feel like going to your foundation and building your tribe and building your family up is super important, because there are going to be the little haters out there who are just jealous about everything, and then you got the super supporters who nothing you do is wrong, and you have to have a balance,
Sure.
Because if you think everything that you're doing is just perfect, you're in for a dose of reality, Right. But if you think everything that you're doing is just garbage, that's not the case either.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts? I mean, how do you kind of vet those folks too, and then try to build your tribe up, with the good people, and how do you do it? How do y'all do it?
Who do you want to go first?
Oh, it doesn't matter to me. We'll say Jason this time because Matt went first last time.
Okay. There you go. Man, okay. I can't say not it too many times, I guess.
Not it. You're it this time, Jason.
Right.
Tag, you're it.
I think that first of all, you have to know who you are. You have to be able to read those people that are surrounding you, and understand intentions. Obviously, I haven't gotten to be successful enough where people are coming out of the woodwork to come, hunt me down yet. Hopefully that'll happen at some point, and then I could apply whatever boundaries I need to apply. But I think really and truly, it's about knowing who you are, knowing the people that you love and trust in that circle, and knowing that their intentions are truly pure, as it relates to your success in whatever endeavor that you're going after. I mean, it's a tricky question because I'm the kind of person that I want to include everybody, and I'm supportive and encouraging and all those things. But at the same time, I also have to look at the people around me and try to understand what their intentions are, in their relationship as it relates to me. And that's just it's a tough thing. But I think as long as you understand yourself and what you want your reality to be, it's a lot easier to say, okay, well, if I want X number of people to be involved in this, if it gets to that point, and then you cut it off there, I think it's a lot easier for you to
be successful because you at least walked into the things with that reality in mind. I mean, again, like, it's such a tricky situation because it's hypothetical in my world. But I just think that as long as you can visualize and understand what you want your world to be, then you're a lot better off in defending that world. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Makes really good sense. I was just thinking when you're talking about that, I was just thinking that back in the day when Arnold Schwarzenegger was first kind of coming up, Lucille Ball took a liking to him, and they became quick friends. And she had a lot to do with his success in Hollywood early on. Yeah. And he talks about that. But I think about like what you're saying about the people that you want around you. Now think about like when Schwarzenegger was coming up, Lucille Ball had already been a big name for many, many years, right? And she was very influential in Hollywood. And I feel like it's important, like you said, you surround yourself with the people that you want to be around. I feel like challenge, people that want to challenge you to, to do better. It's not a competition, right? It's the only competition is like, for me, it's who I was yesterday or what I did, before, and what do I want to accomplish. But to not surround myself with other people who, constantly want to compete against me. I'm like, I'm not the target. I don't want to be your goal. I'm not my goal. I want to be somewhere else, so I try to filter that too with those folks. And I try to surround myself with good people. And then when I do encounter people who are, maybe have different motives or whatever, that I try to say, okay, well, disengage. That's one of the things I do is I disengage with people. I am professional about it. I don't, make any kind of negative remarks or public remarks about them, but I'll just disengage and, move on. That's how I kind of deal with surrounding myself with good people. Matt, what about you, man? Because I mean, like you've got a pretty robust background there too.
Yeah, no, I think that was great. I think that it's really important to understand, to have your kind of guideposts and your principles in place. It's not something that you want to develop after you've been doing your work for a long time, and then you hit it successful, because it's 7 years of work and then you hit success, right? And then you're an overnight success. And
good. That means I've only got like another 5.5 years, right?
Right. So you don't want to enter into success with blank principles, like moral guidelines of how you want to moor yourself. And so I think that's really a great point that Jason brought up. And I was thinking about it straight from the beginning, from the get-go. Like if someone's listening right now and they're trying to get their bearings underneath them, like, you know what? I'm really motivated. I think that Jason inspired me. I think that writing a screenplay would be great, or like I would love to write a book like Adam has, but all the people I have around me are my fellow cubicle workers, and they want to go out for drinks at the end of the day and get drunk and then crash out in their beds and lather, rinse, repeat until they're 50, And so how do you develop a tribe out of that? How do you shift gears?
Well, that's okay. So I love the fact that you're asking the question. What is your answer on that?
And so the first realization that
hang tight. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it's time to do the station announcement. Hold that thought, Matt. I'm sorry. Everybody, you're listening to WR. Yeah. You're listening to WRUU LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. And I'm sorry, Matt. So go ahead. You were saying.
Yeah, so what I was saying was, I found out very quickly that not a lot of people around me had the same mindset that I had. Mm-hmm. So I went through this personally. I had to figure out where I was going to get inspiration from. And really, where I got my inspiration from and where I got my fellowship and my tribe were from people that I didn't know. Mm-hmm. They were from other people that were doing what I was doing professionally, and I could follow them. So I leveraged technology, I leveraged social media, I leveraged other podcasts to use those people. Like one of my guests that I had on talked about, the 5 people you have closest to you. If you look at the 5 people closest to you, the 5 people that you spend the most time with, I can show you your future. And then he had talked about how he was a big Zig Ziglar fan. And I thought that was perfect. Because when he did the math on the amount of time that he was spending, like at his time, it was like, cassette tapes in the car. And the amount of time that he was investing and spending with Zig and with other people like Tony Robbins and other people like that over and over again, that actually the time started to exceed the amount of time that he was spending with his in-person friends. And then his life started to make this big shift where he started to view things differently because the source of input was changing. The majority of the noise and the voices coming in was now different. And so you don't have to wait to go find people physically in person to start your tribe, to be a part of another tribe. It doesn't need to be your tribe to start with. You just need to surround yourself with like-minded people. And if those like-minded people are the ones putting out content in relation to what it is that you want to do, that's a beautiful way to start to ingratiate yourself into another tribe. And then when you're there, then that becomes commonplace. You're not looked at, you're not ostracized because they're like, why would you're working all day and after you work you want to go and spend 4 hours sitting down and writing a book? Why? I don't understand why you would want to do that. Like, I want to be around people that understand, because they couldn't live their life without doing that. They couldn't understand a life where they were not pursuing the completion of the book, the preparation of their first stand-up comedy show, the first screenplay that they ever written, the first training program that they ever delivered. And that's I think that's a great place where you start. And then as you take that action again and again and again, then you have to make sure that you got your principles. Like Jason said, you have to make sure that you know what it is that you want and what it is that you expect. And then at the bottom line, when you're dealing with other people, you got to trust people to be exactly who they are. People are going to show you. They're going to let you know, and you're going to get burned. It's going to happen. And you just need to not get burned twice in the same way.
Yeah, the old phrase that my uncle used to say this, but wrong. Well, I'm just gonna say it a nice way because I can't cuss on air. But wrong me once, shame on you. Wrong me twice, shame on me. Because the first time it's like, oh, you did it wrong. If I let you do it the second time, then that's my problem. I did that. I let you do it because I knew how you were. You showed me who you were, and I let you do it anyway. And so I really feel like it's important. That's one of the reasons why I say I disengage from folks when that happens. And I try, I'll be honest with you, I try to be lenient sometimes with folks, especially if I like them. I try to be lenient. But if there's a pattern or if there's, consistency, if there's somebody that's like a little hater, then they're just constantly saying negative things. I don't want those folks around me. I don't want to be around negative people. I have to deal with negativity. I mean, we human beings, we have negative thoughts, period. I mean, it happens. We learn to destroy as babies before we learn to build. And, that's one of the things I'm like, if the folks are negative or if they, if they're not really, there's nothing wrong with the folks that, they do their 9-to-5 gig and then, they go home and they veg out. There's nothing wrong with that. That's consumer economy. I get it. But I'd rather create stuff. I'd rather make stuff. And that doesn't mean I don't consume things too. I like watching movies and shows and, I like to read and that kind of stuff too. But I also like to create things and make stuff. And I like to be around other creators.
And if I jump in real fast.
Yeah.
I think, to that point of people that take that emotional advantage of you, I think cutting the cord from those types of people, it hurts us because we're sensitive people. But if they are, what you perceive that they are, which is, kind of latching on or whatever, they'll find their other they'll find someone else to latch on to, sort of thing. So I think that there are people out there that do kind of, latch on to positive individuals or people that are doing things, and I do think it's healthy for yourself to cut those people off when you realize that they are just there for themselves. It's not about supporting you or about supporting your journey. It's about attaching themselves to something that they perceive as beneficial to themselves, or him or herself. And then I just think that they'll find another person to latch on to.
Well, the reason why I like to say I like to disengage from those kind of folks is because when I see someone acting like that, which has happened to me multiple times, I know the signs. I see it over and over again, and I'm like, I thought they were different. That, I think for me, that's the biggest letdown or the biggest disappointment. Hello, Mr. Bill Cooper. How are you, sir?
I'm not too horrible, Bill.
You're not swell today? Bill Cooper just came in the studio, y'all. But I like to disengage from them because I don't like conflict. I don't like, arguing with people about stuff or whatever. Thank you, sir. Bill is such a sweet guy. He brings me because I'm diabetic. He brings me like a sugar-free drink every week. I'm like, you don't have to do that, Bill, but I love it. He's such a swell guy.
Yeah, that's it.
But
I got it BOGO, if that helps.
You got a BOGO?
Yeah. I'm only giving you half a gift.
Oh, you only give me half a gift. Well, that way next week I get the other half, right?
That's the way it works.
But I like to. I tell you what, I like the salt of the earth people. Talking about like making connections and whatever. I like that, and when I see the signs over and over again, I don't want to sound funny here, y'all. I mean, I don't want to sound like an old fogey. But I'm 44. I'm not old, but I'm also not a little youngster anymore. And when I was younger, I used to think, oh man, I could just power my way through things. I could just work my way through stuff and just do massive amounts of work. And I've been reading, leadership and self-development stuff and listening to audiobooks and those things since like 1994. I was 18. So you see a lot of trends and things like that. And what I noticed, though, and the reason why I'm focusing on this with the tribe part is that I feel like it is important as a creative. And Jason, you struck it right on the nerve. We are more in tune and more sensitive to a lot of things. And when somebody focuses in on that and they're like, just attaching themselves to you for whatever reason, it's because they're trying to leverage up. And I could give example after example after example of different folks that I've seen it happen, and that's one of the reasons why I feel like it's so important to when you're building yourself, you're building your camp up, you're building your fort up, you're building your empire every day, that you not only surround yourself with the kind of folks that you want to be like, you also act and take action to be that kind of person that you want to be like. So if you say, hey, I like people who volunteer and give back to the community, then volunteer and give back to the community.
Right.
If you say I'm a screenwriter, then be a screenwriter.
Right.
If you say I'm an author, be an author. If you say, I'm a trainer, a resiliency trainer, be a resiliency trainer.
Right.
That's, do those things, and then, I mean, I'm not trying to say that I'm not trying to say be nasty and be ugly and be, mean to people, but it is so important, the people that you surround yourself with, your foundation. Matt, you were talking about Zig Ziglar. One of the things I love that Zig Ziglar said was that motivation is like taking a shower. You've got to do it every day for it to work, right? I mean, I'm kind of paraphrasing there, but it's something you have to do daily. So, I appreciate y'all, sharing that, because I feel like that's one of the important things is like, building yourself up also means, the way that you focus on your relationships, because the stuff that we do, Matt, like you said earlier, we're not doing it alone. I think maybe Jason, you might have said it too. We're doing these things and there are other people that are involved. I mean, we're not hermits and living in a cave and just writing to ourselves or doing these things for ourselves. You know, anytime we put anything out there publicly and say, hey, world, I'm doing this thing, then there are other folks involved.
So there's also that personal accountability as well, that you have to, you know, make sure that you're really, I mean, it's your story. You're the author of your story.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And like we were talking about the pity
exactly
party,
right.
like the last hour we were talking about doing the pity party. I feel like that self accountability goes back into that, because you have to say, hey, wait a minute, am I being the kind of person that I say I am, or you know,
right.
If I'm not writing, that doesn't mean I'm not a writer, but I need to look at like, why am I not writing?
Right.
You know,
and that's in short supply. I think that a lot of people have allowed themselves to, through whatever circumstances that are available, make excuses, but you can get up and do what you want to do. You just actually have to get up and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's, all of us are doing that, and it's not easy, and nor should it be. Anything that's worth having shouldn't be easy. And I mean, I think the three of us know that. I think every creator out there knows that. So it's just a matter of actually getting up and doing it.
Yeah, I love that you hit on that topic of it not being easy, because one of the things Matt and I talk about a lot is grit. On our show, we talk about grit, doing the work, and why does it matter on the Matt and Anna show. And the grit of pushing through when it's not easy. You know, I'm listening to this Atomic Habits by James Clear audiobook, and one of the things that he talks about, he brings up Michael Phelps as an example of, you know, we have these predisposed advantages, you know. So like, for example, Michael Phelps and this world, I can't remember the guy's name, but he's a world famous runner. They have the same leg length for whatever reason, but Michael Phelps is like 5 or 6 inches taller than this world champion racer, you know, this runner. But the guy that is the world champion runner, he's like 5'10", maybe 5'9", something like that. But he's got really long legs, whereas Michael Phelps has short legs compared to, you know, his upper torso and his reach, and it gives them a distinct advantage of you know, the physical prowess in that realm. And I feel like we all have our own talents and abilities. You know, some of our natural talents might, like for example, I started drawing when I was like in 2nd grade. You know, that wasn't a natural ability. It was just something that I liked doing. So now I like to draw. There are a lot of people out there who are a lot better than me at it. A lot better. I mean, like, I was just thinking about how that the digital art medium versus hand-drawn art, that the consistency of it, that's a big advantage of digital art versus like hand-drawn art. But we all have like our own, I guess, natural abilities, and that we should, and then like James Clear talks about how we should stack those. And the reason why I say about digital art versus, you know, hand-drawn art was because I was looking at the line consistency of this one artist, and I noticed, I was like, you know, it looks like hand-drawn art, but then I noticed that every one of the hatch marks had the same consistent over and over and over and over width of this one little dash in the middle. It's like it started off and then it was like this little hump and then it kind of tapered off, but it was the same over and over and over again. I was like, oh, you know, it's not that person isn't doing the art, but it's digital art. So a person doing it with ink, you're not going to have that same consistency, right?
Yeah.
And I've been trying to figure out the reason why I liked hand-drawn art or hand-created art more than digital, and it finally clicked for me when I saw this picture. I was like, okay, it's this consistency. I like digitally enhanced stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, like the Marvel movies and stuff like that, they're great. I love movie effects and things like that. But there's a big thing about like handcrafted stuff. Or for example, with singing, a person who can truly sing and really sing versus someone whose voice is digitally enhanced and augmented, right? And I feel like that's what we go back to with our talents and doing the things that are, that we're naturally good at, right? Versus the stuff that we have to really force. So when we're doing the work and we're, and I've got to do the station ID stuff here, but I want to finish this thought real quick. When we're doing the work, sometimes it's like saying, I'm a cheeseburger at a hot dog cart. And no matter what, the people that are coming up, they're all buying hot dogs. Nobody wants a cheeseburger. Nobody. Everybody wants a hot dog because it's a hot dog cart, right? But I'm doing my best to try to sell this cheeseburger to people that are coming up to buy hot dogs. But it's just not working. But if I take that same cheeseburger and I sell it, at a cheeseburger joint that only sells cheeseburgers and French fries, I'm gonna do better. So we have to kind of self-evaluate, like, what's the work doing? Are we, just grinding away to grind, or are we being strategic about it? So I want to talk about that after we come back. Everybody that you're tuning in today, you're listening to WRUU LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio Global Soul. And I know that that's kind of like a long around the park view way of what we're talking about, but I feel like it's very important, and I want to talk about more of that when we come back, y'all.
WRUU Savannah Soundings programming is brought to you by listeners and the Ships of the Sea Museum. The wait is over. The Ships of the Sea Museum has reopened. With access to the first floor, we are one of 2 historic museums with accessibility lift. The gift shop is filled with local specialties such as handcrafted soaps and cheese straws, a savory Southern tradition. More information can be found at shipsofthesea.org. Many critical issues are facing the residents of Savannah and all Americans, including the coronavirus, homeschooling, and the upcoming general election. WRUU has 3 programs which address these issues: The Common Good on Fridays from 2 to 3 p.m., The Happy Homeschooler on Wednesdays from 2 to 3 p.m., and We the People, The Constitution Today on Sundays from 8 to 9 p.m. Stay informed about these important issues by tuning into these programs on WRUU.
WRUU 107.5 FM is a new and different listener-supported and all-volunteer community radio station for Savannah. Our diverse broadcast and web programming is supported by generous listeners who value our passion and spunk. We are independent of other media and receive no government or large corporate support. People like you are our largest and most important source of our funding. Go to WRUU.org to find out how you can make a one-time or a monthly contribution. Thank you.
All right, here is Sebastian Messer playing some live music. Everybody, I asked him to play Love of My Life, and he was like, no, I'm not going to do it. So... Oh, you gonna dog me out like that? Okay, good. I love it. You should see his face right now. They're like, what do you got to say about that, Bass? I love it. All right, everybody. That's Sebastian Messer playing live here in WRUU.LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. Okay, so guys, I mean, I know I'm kind of getting a little excited about this, but I just love the topic of grit and resiliency and determination. Being strategic about this, and I need to really kind of cool my jets a little bit because I'm so excited about it. But tell me about how you feel about grit. Jason, you were talking about doing the work, getting it done. How do you feel about that? Like what pushes you and drives you on?
I don't know what pushes me actually. I think it's just the inherent storytelling kind of spirit that's in me that pushes me. I've not made much money at all writing the stories that I've written, but I still write them because it makes me feel complete. And I think that's, an important thing is, you do things because they complete you, not because they complete somebody else, or not because they complete a task that's outside of your being or whatever. You do them because they make you happy, and then hopefully you do other things that can kind of, that part of you can come full circle. So like for me, for instance, I've been writing movies for a long time and stories for a long time. And, but I also was aware enough to recognize when there were people that came into my orbit that could help me create opportunities for that part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I befriended them, and I engaged with them, and I created opportunities that I could try to build through other people that I, grew to trust, an avenue to share these stories. And so for me, it's just, grit to me is all about that discipline and kind of being who you are. And when you recognize who you are, me as a storyteller, and not just as a screenwriter, but as a podcaster, as just a creative content producer working in television, working with other podcasts and video ways, all of these things kind of line back up with who I am and what I want to be and what I want to do. And you can hone that grit in a lot of different ways. And so, yeah, for me, it's just staying true to who you are and kind of, looking at what you can do, even just outside of just doing the work itself, to help magnify that path. And I'm just because I'm sitting a lot of time at a keyboard writing doesn't mean that's the only way to get things done. A lot of it's networking and reaching out to people and listening and looking for opportunities that way.
I think that's a great point, especially with the aspect of something that you do to, for personal satisfaction and enrichment. I think that's a great, it's a great way to navigate through things, because if you, like I was asking about the strategic part, if you're not navigating with a purpose, so if it's like, okay, well, if, for example, I'm not gonna drop this. I'm not going to do any kind of spoilers here or whatever, but there was that one screenplay that you were talking to me and that we were laughing and we were having a good time talking about it, because it's like something that you and I could both relate to growing up. And it's like, oh man, and you combine these two things together, which was I thought was really neat. We had a great time just talking about it, and the reason why I bring this up is because when you're talking about, sharing that with other people, that trust, for you to share that story with me, that meant a lot to me. It's like, oh, he trusts me to, share this. That I feel like is important, because if you don't have anybody that you can talk with about stuff that you're like, hey, I've got this idea, I'm trying to do this thing, going back to building our tribe up, it's difficult, because I literally, and the reason I'm saying this is because I've had it happen to me where I've talked to somebody and I'm like, hey, I've got this idea. I thought that I could trust the person, and then they cut my time frame off by doing something very similar to it, but putting it out before me. And I've had that happen to me, like, just a couple different times. And those are the folks that I disengage from. And I'm like, wow, I really felt like this is something that, I could trust you with. And I don't mean to keep peppering this stuff with negativity. I'm just trying to be real, everybody out there. Like, especially when you're a creative person, there's so much stuff out there right now. There's so much content or whatever. But I feel like building those relationships is the most important thing. And the folks that I disengage from typically are the transactional folks that they're like, what's in it for me? Or, they just want to name drop, or they just want to, leverage it up because you might know somebody that they want to know. Or they might want you to introduce them, and then they act like you never introduced them or whatever. I'm like, okay. Yeah, sure. So, Matt, man, I know you and I talk a lot about, why grit's important. But can you give like the bird's eye view of it?
Yeah, well, real quick, I wanted to touch on the trust aspect, 'cause I know that you were saying you don't want to keep peppering it with negativity, so let me try to throw in some positivity on the trust side. So,
well, when I said I don't want to pepper it with negativity, I'm just trying to be real. I'm just trying to talk about things that really happen.
I'm with you. No, and you need to be aware of the realistic nature of dealing with other humans. But you also have to keep in mind that it's going, like Jason had referenced this when he talked about his relationship with his wife and pursuing his passion solo being a very lonely road. If you cannot find people to trust as you go through, and you're not willing to open yourself up to trust people, it's going to be a very lonely road. And you're going to set yourself up for a lot more difficulties than you would otherwise. A real quick actual history lesson, because I love me some American history, is that actually one of the reasons, so the Spanish were the first people to come to America, right? So they were, like, as far as colonization, and then they didn't really do that well. One of the reasons they didn't do that well is because they had such a trust problem that they did not allow the captains of their ships to make maps because they were worried that the maps were going to be stolen. And so things that they would discover would be forgotten, and then they'd have to rediscover it, and not everyone would know what was rediscovered. So they thought that California was an island on like 3 separate occasions. So this is the kind of fallout that you see when you, it's not that you don't trust, but like where trust is this huge negative concept in your mind where like you can't trust anybody. You're going to set yourself up for, thinking California's an island. So don't do that. Don't think California's an island.
Oh yeah, definitely not. I definitely am not approaching it from that aspect. I'm just trying to say that there are a lot of different things that happen, and you have to.
No, I wasn't trying to say that.
Yeah. I know. I just want to say that because you can't. Everything cannot be rose-colored glasses.
Nope.
It has to. You have to look at. I love what Tony Robbins says about this, and the reason why I bring this back up is because I feel like it's important, because being positive doesn't mean you don't have negative thoughts. It means that you deal with those thoughts and you choose to be proactive and you choose to be positive. Tony Robbins was saying that with positivity, to see things as they are for what they are, not more than what they are, right? So, if you have something negative happen in your life, it's like, okay, well, the reality of the situation is that I have had people that just wanted to befriend me because they wanted to leverage contacts that I might know. I've had people that, they've used me for different reasons and thought that they were, getting whatever out of me. And I'm like, I'm not really anybody, I'll try to help anybody that I can, but I've had that happen to me. I don't do that to other people, and I don't like when people do it to me. But I've had that happen. And it's just a sad, unfortunate reality. So I bring that up because I feel like it's so important. When I say I vet the people that I trust and that I build with my tribe, like that's what I mean. I don't have a whole lot of time to spend with people that are going to try to take advantage of me. I try to focus my time with the folks that I feel like are good people, that they're good people first. I like the doers, I like the creative people, and I like good people. So that's just where I'm coming from with with that vantage point, and I'm trying to say that because I know it sounds negative, and it is a little negative. I mean, that's just the way it is, But it's so important to me to share that with folks because it happens, You can't let the negativity stop you from creating and doing the things that you want to do. The rejection letters that throw you down, like, oh, we feel like your writing's good, but okay.
I feel like that dovetails perfectly into the kind of the bird's eye view that you wanted to get on grit. And so when you look at grit, it's resolve. It's the strength of character, right? It's your willingness to deal with those obstacles, to know that they're going to come, and to know that you're going to find a way around it. That obstacle can actually be turned into an opportunity. And your willingness to put the work in. Grit is, I like to think of grit as like an antonym to talent, because I think that Nietzsche said this. He said that talent and genius are, how did he phrase it? They're ways that we justify the lack of work as humanity. It's we say, oh, look at that guy. He's just so talented at swimming. Look at that. Oh, he's such a talented musician. And really, when you break it down, if you look at some of the people that are the best, like Michael Phelps, was he naturally built in that way to swim? Absolutely. Did he put in tens of thousands of hours worth of training? Oh, you bet. You bet. And so
that's what James Clear talks about is like, you have certain natural advantages in areas, and that if you're not doing well in one area, you have to look at like, okay, well, what are the reasons why? That doesn't mean you won't be successful in that area, right. But I think we have to look at like, what does success mean?
Is that when we don't see ourselves as having that natural talent, like if somebody's sitting there thinking, I've always wanted to be a painter, I've always wanted to try, but I've never been able to paint anything in my life. And then they use that like, well, I don't have the talent, I don't have the talent. Like, no, it's the talent comes after the practice. I hear you. Like, yeah, if you take somebody that's just pure-blooded talented at painting, and they paint and they paint really well, and it's great. And you take somebody that's put 1,000 hours into a certain brush stroke technique, when you line those people up and you're actually looking at, whether it be employment or making a beautiful piece of art, you're going to have a hard time telling the difference between those people. It's just, are you willing to put the work in? Like, does it matter to you? And that goes back to exactly what we've been talking about, which is, how do you define yourself?
I love that because
I was going to say that I am statements are the most powerful statements you can make. So I am a screenwriter. I am an author.
Yeah, affirmation statements are good if they're followed up with action. If they're followed up with action, they have to be. I mean, like taking the action.
But imagine trying to take action if you haven't clearly defined what it is that you do or what you want. Imagine trying to take action in a gray space in your mind where it's not clear what it is that you want to do.
I think you have to dabble with different things that you have interest with, and then you have to develop that from there. But one of the things I love that Bruce Lee would say, or had said, was that he didn't fear the person that knew 1,000 kicks. He feared the person that did one kick 1,000 times. And that goes back to what you're saying about the brushstroke thing. Somebody's spinning, they know, like, for example, going back to that artist that I said I really like, and then I noticed the consistency of the same brushstroke over and over and over again. The likelihood that person was doing it by hand and getting the same consistency with the same length, the same thickness, the same width, the same ink distribution in that, it's infinitesimal in my opinion. I don't know the hardcore stats on it, but I know for a fact when people are doing digital art, it's a lot easier to replicate. And I saw a friend of mine that had posted, like, they post digital art all the time, and they said that they went back to drawing by hand, and you could see like a noticeable degradation of their art when they did it by hand versus digital. And I feel like when we, like, for example, we all know about photo filters, right? So like somebody will take a photo, and there's always that meme of like, well, this is what people really look like versus what they act like they look like online, right? And I think that goes back to doing the actual work versus talking about doing the work. Things can seem like they're so much better on the other side because we get to see the end result. But we're not seeing like the tens of thousands of hours. Malcolm Gladwell, I love the way he talks about that. The 10,000 hour rule. We don't see the grind in it. We don't see like the personal dedication that people have when there is no audience, when there are no people clapping and cheering, when it's just an idea in that person's head before they put pen to paper or, fingers to keyboard,
That's right.
I feel like that's so important. Not to sound like I keep saying, not to try to sound negative, but I feel like it's so important to embrace that the grind and the doing the work, when it's not glamorous, when
and that's why, just like Jason said, that's why tying it to who you are and your passions is so important. Doing it for yourself, because that's what helps drive you through. You and I have talked about multiple times. How do you extract motivation out of a stone? You know what I mean? Like, how do you get it out of nothing when you're at your low point? And when you're involved in something that you're super passionate about, it changes everything. It's something that you're willing to get out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning for. It's something that you're willing to stay up late for. And you're willing to find a way to the yes. You're not like, can I? No, it's like, how am I gonna? How am I gonna do it?
All right, so we got like 2 minutes left, y'all. Jason, where can people check out your stuff?
I'm still working on my website, but jasonusrycreates.com.
Okay.
Hopefully I'll have something available tomorrow, but you can find our podcast, End of Watch, with Bootsy and Sal. I'm also working with LA Not So Confidential and Dialogue with Rebecca Sebastian. I'm her editor.
Can you, you know what, actually, can you send me links to those other ones like later on? Because I'd love to put that with the podcast so people can check that out.
You bet, absolutely.
Matt, where can people check out your new stuff that you got?
I love Jason's website name. That was awesome.
Yeah, me too.
In the memory book, staying there. But Matt Lostaglia Inc. is the .com is the website.
Matt Lostaglia Inc. Yeah.
Yep. And really, if you follow that to Facebook, then that's there as well. You can follow me on all the socials. If you look in Lostaglia, there is a G in there, so look at the show notes.
We'll have the link for sure.
There's not a whole lot of Matt Lostaglias out there. So
I want to throw this out there, y'all. Talking about like grit and doing stuff. Matt and I were having a conversation about like he was getting ready to rename his show and stuff like that. And one of the concerns that you had was that people couldn't spell Lostaglia. And I said to you, people learn how to spell Schwarzenegger.
And they did. And all I'm asking for is a G.
Yeah. So I tell you what, folks, if you have something like Lostaglia, that's, what, Sicilian or Italian?
Italian.
My last name's Messer, and it's German, but people butcher my name all the time. If you have something out there like it's different, it's like, hey, wait a minute. Wait, when they learn how to spell Lostaglia or they learn how to spell Messer, it's like, it makes it a distinction. Usry. Like, how many people do you know with the last name Usry? Not many. So I think it's really cool, and I love the fact that you decided to go with Matt Lostaglia Inc. and to rep your new show, your new program that you got, Matt. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show with me today.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks for having us, man. It was really great. Great to talk with you again, Jason.
You too.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do this again next time. I think what we might do is we'll flip the script where we'll have y'all being the hosts. So, all right, everybody.
I like it.
Yep.